Today's show is brought to you by homebrewsupply.com. August means back to school, and August means back to brewing at homebrewsupply.com. Get 20% off any all-grain or extract recipe kit, 20% off starter homebrewing equipment kits, and take advantage of the free gift card promotion exclusively available at homebrewsupply.com. Go to homebrewsupply.com right now and let us help make your next brew day better.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Hey, and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the Submit a Question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today, I am joined by the President and Chief Keg Watcher at kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. You were humming. I'm doing an intro, and I hear you humming.
I swear I'm not humming.
This is why I mute you.
Oh, I'm not. I wasn't muted. I thought I was muted.
I know you did. Because I told you that you were muted, and I was like, as soon as the music hit, I muted both of our channels because I was like, I'm not going to do this again. Spoiler alert, we record sometimes early. Next week, so not today. We're recording this like we usually do on the Thursday, and we publish it. But I recorded next week's episode yesterday with Mr. Jason Chalifer from Muntins, and in the intro. Well, first off, wonderful guy. You know Jason. I don't have to tell you.
Oh yeah.
Wonderful
Jason's
guy.
Great.
You need to call him back. By the way, I forgot to tell you that yesterday. He said he called you, and I told him.
I talked to him.
Oh, perfect. I told him, yeah, Todd ignores my calls too, man. I don't know what to tell you. But
No, I don't ignore other people, so I call him.
Oh, just me. Okay.
Yeah.
You remember when I was a freelancer and my voicemail used to say, don't even bother leaving a voicemail because I'm not going to check it. And then when you hired me again, you said that's the first thing you made me change.
Oh, yeah. I hate that. God. So millennial. I mean, so millennial.
That was literally the first thing you made me change. The second like the ink was dry on the contract, you were like, change your voicemail right now and check your voicemails. Anyway, Jason was an awesome guest. He helped me answer a question. It wasn't just a normal homebrewer showcase video we do or episode we do. So I don't think I'm going to title it that because he brought a ton of knowledge. I forgot how much experience he has as a brewer. But the reason I bring him up was also because I muted him for the first 8 seconds I was like, oh, and welcome to the show, Jason Chalifer. And you just see a video of him going, miming something.
Oh, gosh.
And, I think he thought we were going to start it over, but he underestimates my laziness. So I just unmuted him and said, no, we'll just go from here. People are used to it. The production value of this show is questionable at best. And I think people have gotten used to it. So I don't apologize anymore.
So you didn't have the crazy Englishman Phil on, I guess, with him.
No, but we made fun of him plenty. And by we, I mean me, because he wasn't here to defend himself. Phil gets too comfortable making fun of me, so it's nice to return it when he's not around. You set up.
His 4th of July shirt. I think I may have already mentioned it on the show, but his 4th of July shirt was one of the best I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, and we did mention on the episode next week. So, oh man, see, this is an episode of Westworld. I don't want to divulge too much, but this isn't like info that matters. I had fun bringing up their costumes they wore for HomebrewCon.
Those are nice.
How I told him he looked like he was about ready to play billiards. I was telling Phil that, and Phil looked at me like I was an idiot. Like, no, that's a different outfit, you moron. He didn't say that. He looked at me like that. I was like, I don't know your culture. Fish and chips, something. I wasn't going to go too derogatory, so I'll just leave it at fish and chips. But
right.
Thank you for joining me. Right now, James is at Port Aransas, right? Isn't that the beach he's at?
I think he did go to Port Aransas, and then I was swimming in the ocean yesterday morning.
Yep.
In Florida, but I was actually on a business trip. The guy I was visiting was like, "Hey man, we should go for a walk and swim on the beach this morning. I was like, wow, can you do that on a business trip? But yeah, I did. And
There's
then
a lot of things you do on business trips that you could.
normally it's just nose to the grindstone, work, work, work.
Yep.
But occasionally I do something fun. And okay, so James is at the coast, and then my daughter's at the coast, and you're on your way to the coast.
That's true. Yes, I this weekend I'm leaving. I'll actually be so your oldest daughter and I will be at South Padre Island at the same time. So I told her she needs to watch my kids while we're there, so I could take my wife on a date. I was only.
No, that's what she wants to do.
I know.
I'm at the South Padre Island with her college to high school. Well, she's in college, but they're old high school friends. Yeah, that's what she wants to do is babysit.
Yeah, she didn't seem enthusiastic, and I understand. I was being sarcastic, but if she would have said yes, I would have been like, yeah, I was totally being serious, absolutely. But she
did she do that laugh that she always gives me, like I'm old and kind of an idiot? Like,
yeah, yeah, 3 syllable, yeah.
Yeah, I know that. I know it very well.
My kids are getting that as well right now.
Good. Good for them.
Yeah, it is funny. You were just in Florida at the beach. I saw you paddle boarded, which that doesn't seem like an activity I'd ever want to do. Was it as difficult as it looks? Like, I mean, I mean, first off, it doesn't look fun, but secondly, it looks like a lot of upper body. Like, were your arms burning the next day from doing all that paddling?
No, it's not hard at all.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe at the pace you go, it's not a whole lot of work, right? I mean, you can make it what you want to make it, or don't look at me like that.
Oh, people can't actually see looks on audio, can they?
No, the vast majority of our audience is still audio only.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll just have to believe me when I say you gave me the death stare. Speaking of our audience, it's a good time to remind you, if and when you submit questions and we take it on the show, we give you a $25 gift card to, I used to say to that, the sponsor of that episode, but I can't always do that. And where I'm going with this is we actually have new sponsors coming over the next several weeks. Next month, we're working with stickeru.com. And we're doing a label contest. You can actually get a sneak peek. I say sneak peek. You can enter the contest now. I just didn't do an ad bumper for them because I haven't been paid for this episode by them. But when I do get, when that ad money does come in, you better believe those ad bumpers will too. But if you go to homebrewhappyhour.com/contest, and actually I can bring it up. Yeah, there it is right here on the screen. Homebrew Happy Hour /contest will take you to the landing screen or the landing page for our contest. If you click on upload and print my label, that will enter yourself, or there is a form at the bottom you can see here where you put in your name and your email, attach your file. If you read it right here, look at that. Your designs will be judged by the host of Homebrew Happy Hour. That means Todd, myself, and James.
I don't see anything on my screen, though.
That's not how this show works. I can't. You can open a browser and type in homebrewhappyhour.com /contest and follow along. I just
see you and you're really out of focus. So
my gosh, you old man yelling at clouds. Back to the landing page there. We are going to award 3 winners. Grand prize is going to get $200 in printed custom labels. Second prize will get $175 in printed custom labels. And third place will get $125 worth of printed custom labels. They don't have to be beer bottle labels. They can be, you could just do your logo. You could do growler stickers or labels. You could do keg labels. Like, I should have brought up the image of, I showed you the keg label that I had made where it has the Homebrew Happy Hour logo and then all the information for you to write in what style it is, when you brewed it, all that. I showed you that, didn't I?
Oh, yeah. That was cool.
Man, oh my gosh. Where did I lose you on all this? Like, your enthusiasm went from 99 to 79.
Well, I'm still looking at the screen. I don't see anything. What did you say about old man screaming at clouds? I've never heard that before.
That's a Simpsons reference.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Grandpa Simpson was like in the newspaper. The headline was "Old Man Yells at Clouds." Yeah, James would have appreciated that. He gets
the labels are really neat. Like, I'm excited about it because we're going to get to do some ourselves too. So
we are, and more importantly, we're judging it. So. If you want to incorporate who's your favorite host into your label because you think that might sway my or his opinion on who would win. I mean, I can't speak for everybody because the three of us are judging, but that might have a lot of weight. You know, I've been bought out by way less gestures. So one more thing before we move on with the show. I mentioned the Sticker You. We just today relaunched Thursday, August the 1st, 2019. We just relaunched homebrewhappyhour.com. If follow along with me, Todd. Open up a tab on that computer.
Oh, I've seen it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
If I open up here, video YouTube audience can see. If you don't already, just open up a tab yourself and go to homebrewhappyhour.com. We just relaunched it. We are now going to be a hub for more than just a podcast, where we have articles, our brew day stuff. We're going to post recipes here, and more importantly, here in the next few weeks, as we have more stuff to announce, more sponsors, more exciting projects that we're a part of and doing, that will also be all housed there at the new homebrewhappyhour.com. It's still being, as you can see, things are still being added. It's not the most there's
complete. It's not quite complete.
It's not quite complete, but we're getting there, and we wanted to launch it sooner than later, really because it's August 1st. And for some reason, the first of the month is always a good time to launch new stuff, I'm told. Or the first.
Yeah, the goal here is to, sorry to cut you off, you're just rambling on and on. So the goal here is to create a learning center where people can come to and learn more about homebrewing, where we have a lot of information right there on that page or on that website.
Exactly. We get the questions all the time. We get our YouTube channel was almost a separate entity from our website, and a podcast. A lot of people don't actually go to the website to listen to the podcast. They subscribe in their favorite app, Pocket Cast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcast. Obviously, that's the number one source for downloads for our show. But we wanted, we were sending people to the learning area on Kekenetchen or the learning area on Homebrew Supply, and we just realized, why don't we just make this the hub for our articles and have people here? We could build the community up there in one spot, and that way all the shows are there, the videos and audio, all the articles are there, and all our how-to videos, because we've been pumping out some new content. James has a quick video on how he does his decoction for the alt beer. Joe did a great unboxing overview, and then we also did a brew day on the Anvil Foundry. So we have a few videos from that. Lorena Evans has been writing articles for us on water, on recipe building. We've got a lot of cool content coming down the pipe. So homebrewhappyhour.com. Go let us know what you think. If you hate it, I'm used to those emails anyway, so send them away. Mr. Burns, since I have you, I've got a couple questions from the listeners, so I'm going to jump right into it. Our first question for today's show came from Linda, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com, and she wrote, "Hey, Joshua, love the show. I found your podcast while searching for answers to my newbie brewing questions, so I am hoping y'all can help. I know I want to brew beer, but I don't know how far I'm going to take this hobby. I would prefer to future-proof myself as much as possible, but I also don't want to spend a ton of money. Do most people brew in 5-gallon batches, or is 10-gallon more common? If I start brewing in 5-gallon batches, but then move to 10-gallon batches, will I need vessels big enough for the entire batch, or can I split up the batch, for example, like for fermentation and serving, without any major consequences? I know that's a lot, but any help you can offer would be wonderful. Cheers." It is a lot, but in the same breath, it's not. I mean, it's a vague topic because if you have a budget, future-proof is always good, but where do you draw the line? You're not going to get, hey, I'm just brand new to homebrewing. I want to get this one-barrel system, the pilot system from Spike, because I want to future-proof myself in case I ever open a nano brewery. But where do you tell the new brewer, Todd, who is interested in getting into brewing and thinks that it might be their new thing?
Yeah, 5-gallon batches is the norm, and you can split them. So what I would say is you can always have everything kind of work around the 5-gallon measurement. So if you start out with 5-gallon, everything that you bought for 5-gallon can be used when you do 10-gallon batches, except for the actual brewing pots, unless you buy bigger brewing pots to start with. So, we brew a lot of 5-gallon batches for test type batches in the electric brew systems. But most of the batches we brew now are 15-gallon. However, I also have my other all grain system is a cooler system, and it's 10 gallons. So we brew all three really. Uh, I think that as far as splitting it up for fermentation, that's what the vast majority of people do is they're going to brew a 5, 10, 15 gallon batch. And then if it's a 15, they're going to put it in 3 different fermenters and they're going to ferment it that way. We're not exactly the norm anymore because we have a huge fermenter that's wonderful from Spike that, anyway,
yeah, the CF15.
We've talked about it quite a bit on the show already, but I still use 5 gallon fermenters all the time because when we start really brewing, particularly like when we're getting ready for HomebrewCon, it didn't take long to take over our fermenter. And the other thing is, for a lot of times when we're using our large fermenter, we really want to use it to do lagers because we can control the temperature so well. And then we end up crashing it. So that sucker could have beer in it for a month,
Right.
And during that time, if you brew, you got to put it in something. So we'll also put it in the 5 gallon, either buckets or carboys. If I'm doing, I most of the time, and this doesn't mean it's how you should do it, but what I usually do is I usually ferment in a 5 gallon bucket. And then I like to secondary in a glass carboy. And that's pretty typical for people, but some people would also primary in a larger glass. The thing that you got to be real careful about is when you're transferring from one to the other, you don't want to oxygenate the beer. So try to, try to do that transfer. Maybe shoot a little CO2 in there. If you have a CO2 system, that's always helpful. But yeah, you want to use, everything's kind of made in 5 gallon batch increments. So even most of the recipes that you have are going to be 5 gallon batches. So anytime we brew a beer, it's always a 5 gallon recipe, and we're just doing 3 times that much on it.
Right, you're scaling it, right? And I'm glad you ended on that because that's what I was going to start with. Is that assuming Linda says she's brand new, there's some assumptions that we can safely make, such as she's probably buying recipes or brewing off of recipes she's found. So
she's probably doing I'm assuming she's starting with extract.
Right, exactly. Even if she was doing all grain, most recipes, unless they explicitly state what the volume is, it's assumed, in my anecdotal experience, I'm ready for the hate mail, but it's always been assumed by me that they're 5 gallon batches. Like when you read the grain build, it's like, okay, unless it says otherwise, this is going to make me 5 gallons. And in the instructions, it might say like, oh, for this one, get a 7 gallon volume because of the boil off, you're going to lose except in that, whatever. But the assumption is always it's a 5 gallon batch. And like you said, with extract, the good thing is you can future proof yourself for extract very budget friendly. You don't have to spend a lot of money, and you can produce great beer, and you can long time. My pop's neighbor, who is a brewer, he only has been doing extract batches for many years, because it fit in his lifestyle, his budget, his brew day time, and that's all he does. And his fermentation, he only has one massive teaser, so he ends up only doing lagers because he doesn't have multiple ways of controlling temperature. So you can make your brewing experience around your life experience and be on a pretty low budget. I don't yet have the nice CF15 or any of the conical fermenters from Spike or any of the competitors. That's in my future, but I would never have started off with that because that would have killed my budget for other stuff like dispensing.
Well, yeah, and it's so inexpensive to do the 5 gallon parts because even the kettle, you can get a very inexpensive kettle.
Yep.
And if you're and you may even have one in your kitchen in some cases if you do, some serious cooking. So I would this would be my recommendation. Start out with what you need to do the 5 gallon, unless you're pretty sure you're going to be doing a 10 gallon and you're buying a nice kettle. Go ahead and buy a larger kettle, because who wants to buy a really nice expensive kettle for 5 gallon and then 6 months later you buy another one and you never use the 5-gallon one again.
Hey, I feel personally attacked. I don't think you meant to do that. I did that with the Spike. Remember, I bought that super nice one, and then we moved immediately up to 10-gallon batches. Like,
yeah, I mean, but it was. I mean, so what's your opinion after doing that?
oh, well, I mean, I make reasons to use it. Like, oh, we're gonna heat up the sparge water in this really nice kettle. Like,
yeah, so but I would get a bigger kettle. I think it's. Bigger kettles are, even when you're doing a 5-gallon, it's nice having a bigger kettle, not having to worry about boil over and all that.
That's a great point. That if I was going to future-proof any part of it, the kettle would definitely be it. Because like you said, we brew in 10-gallon batches now, my pop and I, and we split it up in fermentation. And we have never, like, if you did a blind taste test, you would not be able to tell me which one came from which fermenter. Like you couldn't tell the difference. Now, could it happen? Of course that can. And
I'm sorry, but when you say could it happen, I mean, you may want it to happen. You may want to split up a 10 or 15-gallon batch into 3 different fermenters and use different yeast in them. We've done that a lot of times. It's a lot of fun to try 3 different or 2 different yeast, whatever your batch is, and then you taste the beers and you go, wow, those are really different beers. I brewed the exact same beer, but I changed yeast out, and look how different they are.
Oh, that's a great point.
Fun.
Yeah, and when she asked about any major consequences, the only thing that comes to the top of my head is if you didn't do proper sanitation on all of your equipment. But that's something you need to be doing anyway. Like if you had one bucket that you know was sanitized and the other one was questionable, or it had some scratches where bacteria gets in, that could be but that could happen on any batch, on any size. I'm just trying to cover my bases for Linda and think like what hurdles or variables pop up when you do split batches, and just by virtue of having more equipment just means as long as you keep everything sanitized, you're good to go. Like you're probably not going to have a vastly different tasting beer if you have 2 5-gallon buckets and you use the exact same yeast and they're from the exact same batch, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm moving around and hitting the microphone, but sitting on your ball again, and I always feel like I'm falling off. Like
the audio listeners won't be able to see. I was able to mute you. I saw you moving around. Your channel was muted, so that wasn't bothering. But you were doing, like, again, audio listeners, I apologize for the awkwardness right now, but you were veering off and then catching yourself. And it's about balance, man. It's about, look at me. It's balance. That's all it is.
Yeah, or you get a chair.
Yeah. Well, no, This is good for your core. Watch The Office. I think it was season 2. I forget which episode. Dwight Schrute. This is Dwight Schrute approved. Anyway, Linda, thank you for submitting the question. Moving on, we have one more question for today's show from Kathy, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Kathy wrote, longtime listener here, and I think I finally have a question you haven't discussed yet. If I am brewing extract kits only, is it even necessary to take gravity readings except for the end of my brew day? I'll borrow Joshua's term here when I say that I'm not lazy, but that I'm efficient. I like it. Okay, actually, I typically just forget to take readings, but knock on wood, my beer has always turned out amazing, so shout out to James and his recipes on kegconnection.com. Thanks for taking my question and producing the show regularly. Again, it makes my commute a little less terrible. Real quick, talking about how I feel personally attacked frequently. I think she took 2 digs at me. 1, calling me lazy, and then 2, producing the show regularly. I might be reading into things, Kathy, but if you're a longtime listener, I think you're bringing up that hiatus we had at one point. Not cool. We're producing the show regularly again. We're past that.
I don't think she meant that. I think she's just started. Well, she said she was a long-term listener. Yeah, she may have. But, and you are lazy, so I mean that wasn't really I mean, it's just a statement.
I've been with you for almost 12 years, and if I've learned anything, is that I have to stop getting offended by things that are observational. Like
because you're anything bad by it.
Because you're gonna point it out, and I can't do anything to change it. Well, I could about my laziness, but I'm not gonna. But so extract only. I know you're not. You skip the mash part. So you're not, you're not having to worry about the sugars you're getting out and all that. That's been done for you. Todd, I know you take readings because we just had a brew day not that long ago, and you actually even do the refractometer. You're not just doing, you're doing sugar readings, gravity reading, all the above. For an extract recipe, though, how important, I don't want to, I'll let you answer first, and then I'll say my lazy answer.
Okay, so when you're extract brewing, I don't think it's fair to say you know how much sugar's in there because you're doing the boil, you're volumes changing. I mean, you have you still have a lot of variables. It's not going to hit exactly what you think it's going to
Oh,
hit.
good point.
So I think it is. So I did not do a good job of this when I was an extract brewer. I would forget to take the original reading. I was bad at it. I'm still very bad about breaking the hydrometer.
You are.
Like I've broke 100 hydrometers. I don't know.
You're not
I now have
exaggerating
two
too
home.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, I have two at all times at home now. So as soon as I break one, I just pick the other one up. It's not a problem. They're very cheap, very, very cheap.
They are.
Extremely delicate. So anyway, I always like to take an original gravity reading now. I'm fanatical about it, and a final gravity reading because I want to know how much alcohol's in the beer. So if you could care less how much alcohol's in the beer, it's really not that important. The final gravity is obviously very important because you need to know where to stop and make sure you've kind of hit what you want to hit. But I like knowing how much alcohol I have in the beer. I like to put it on the label, alcohol by volume, and I like to know how much I'm drinking so that if I inadvertently make a beer that has 8% alcohol, which I've done several times when I didn't mean to, I don't want to be snonkered and not know what I'm getting into.
Not
right?
be surprised by it, at least.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I even do that with commercial beers. When we did that brew day, we were doing it on a day where I was driving back to Austin.
Yeah.
And Joe brought some beer, and I didn't know, he brought a session IPA, but he mixed it, and he had one pack, which I forget the name of the session IPA. Oh, it was Founders. It was their all day IPA.
All day, yeah.
But he had other beers mixed in there that I didn't even look. I reached in, I grabbed it, I opened it, and I poured. And he goes, "Oh, you're diving in quick." I was like, "That's all day." I looked, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not even holding an all day IPA." It was some other 8.5 like double IPA where I was like, "Well, you want to split it, man?" Because I got to drive home. Not that one beer is going to do that to me, but the point being, it is good to know where you're at with your beer for you to be aware and tell whoever's drinking with you. Like you don't want them to be surprised either, because there's a huge difference between drinking a session beer and drinking an imperial stout or an imperial IPA or whatever.
Absolutely, I agree. And you want to know where you are at the end, because I mean I like a dry beer, so I'm always trying to get further down. The alt that we brewed, what was that now? A week and a half ago?
Correct. Yeah.
That alt is, or maybe it was a week ago. Wait a minute. We did it on Friday. Was it 2 Fridays or 1 Friday?
It was 2 Fridays. So when Stefan was there, it was 2. Yeah, you've just been seeing me so much.
I'm probably not going to hit much more because I'm at like 1.013 or 1.4. My hydrometer's doing weird stuff, but I'm probably not going to get it much lower after that much time. So it's, I'll probably cold crash it tonight. I'm gonna give up at where I am, but I would have liked to have brought it down a little bit more. And we left we actually left the grain out of that alt beer that colors the beer. So we have an alt beer that looks like a Kolsch.
Wait, what? I was doing the Anvil Brew Day with Joe, and not a part of it at all. How did that happen?
Well, because I was talking to James the other day, and I'm like, "Hey, man, our alt beer does not look like an alt beer," and he was like, "Yeah, I think I left out the grain."
No, you talking about when we did the decoction? No.
Yeah, so it's pretty light. I'm going to call it a light alt.
He's not going to appreciate us bringing that up. So naturally, this is going to be the clip promoting this week's show, so that he'll see it on Instagram.
So it'll be real interesting to see, because I think that's really mainly for color,
right? So
it will obviously change the taste slightly, but I don't think it's going to change it a whole lot. But I think we'll change it some, and it may take some of that bitter out of it. It'll be very interesting to see what beer we end up with. It's not going to be a Kolsch, but it's not going to be an alt either. Maybe we've created the perfect beer.
Maybe.
We've ended the argument. of which is better, Kolsch or alt. It's the Todd.
The cult. Yeah. That will be what I serve at my brew pub in the future. Instead of doing both, we will serve Todd's hybrid alt.
Well, unless it sucks, and then we'll call it the James alt, right?
Oh, you know what? Here's what's gross. It's a win-win for you. When it's good, you're going to be drinking good beer. If it sucks, you have so much ammo to throw James under the bus for. I mean, we've talked about his scorched. Was it the Roggen beer that he totally kind of messed up? Which one was it that you still talk about frequently?
I've moved on, Josh. Thanks for bringing it up for poor James.
You barely have moved on, is my point. If this alt doesn't turn out fantastic, it's going to be a year.
I think it's going to be good. I tasted it last night. I think it's going to be a good beer.
I'm sure, and I'm actually.
It'll be a perfect summer. It's going to be kind of a light beer.
How's that oatmeal pale that Joe used, the Kvik or Kvik, or I don't know how you pronounce it.
Sitting at 80 degrees for 2 weeks now. He said to leave it in there. I mean, or more than 80, 85, I think is what I have it set on. But that's the way that yeast is supposed to work. So it'll be fascinating to see how that is.
You didn't taste that one yet? Oh, I guess it's not easy for you to, because your alt is in your CF15 that has a tasting valve, where his is in a bucket, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it again tonight. I had something weird happening. I was dropping the hydrometer, and the reading was changing, and I was having to push it down. Anyway, I don't know if I had a little bit too much. It's a little bit carbonated because I haven't actually added CO2 to it yet, but I closed it off and let it naturally carbonate some. So I'm having a little bit of trouble getting a good reading. I'm going to try it again tonight. It's mainly an excuse for me to pour another thimbleful and taste it again.
Exactly. I know you. Which, segueing back to Kathy's question, a good thing about taking readings, one really good thing is that when your beer is ready. Yes. If you didn't take a reading, you're guessing at best. And to be fair, because she implied heavily that she's been only brewing James's recipes from ketconnection.com, his instructions are extremely thorough. He does a great job where, yes, technically you don't have to take readings in regards to he overshoots the preparedness for your beer, knowing that it'll be done by then. Like if you use an imperial or whatever kind of yeast that could finish out in 3 days, James is like, it's 7 days or it's 10.
Yeah, and it's hard sometimes because I travel so much.
Yep.
I probably should have been taking readings a week ago, but I haven't been here. I've been on the road. So you can't, I haven't been home for 6 days until last night. So, the idea is you're supposed to take a reading and then see if you have any movement 2 or 3 days later. And if you don't, then it's done. But sometimes it's hard to do that if you travel and you're not always there.
Absolutely. But, we could go down a ton of rabbit holes with Kathy, because you could get automated stuff. I say automated. What would you call the tilt? A digital hydrometer. You could get things that if you really want to get at it, they're not that expensive, and they help if you happen to be efficient like you and I, Kathy. The lazy type, you could drop those in, and then all you do is pull up the app and you go, oh, my beer's ready. Or even set alarms and tilt, and some of those other digital hydrometers do talk with brewing software. So if you do start making your own recipes, or you just want to use that brewing software, like our friends at Brewer's Friend, they communicate together, and that could make your whole brew day and brewing experience that much more streamlined and thus enjoyable. Because I think the more we can streamline and make it enjoyable, the more we're apt to doing it. And that's what it's all about, is brewing more beer. But wrapping up her question, I would think we both agree, yeah, it's necessary to take readings. You want to get in the habit of that, because it's better to take readings than to not, even if you want to argue the definition of the word necessary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you don't want to, later on, if you're wondering why your beer tastes this way, it would be nice to have known what sugar you hit in the beginning. Because, the problem is if you don't take a reading and you really, really missed it, let's say you didn't convert near as much sugar as you thought you did, you finish your whole beer and you taste it and you're like, why does it taste like this? Well, yeah, it's because it has 2% alcohol in it. but it's still not really. It doesn't have any body. I mean, it really helps you to know if you've hit your numbers.
It really does, and also for support, because if you go to a forum or you call Todd or you go on any helpline, the first thing they're going to ask is, well, what were your numbers? And if you weren't doing readings, you're going to just be like, I don't know, and then they're going to say, click. Well, you might not hang up on her. I don't take these calls, but I would totally hang up. But you need numbers. And again, journaling your brew day will only help your future recipes, especially because you're going to want to know, if you nail a beer, whether it's a recipe kit or not, you're going to want to know what you did that brew day to replicate it as much as possible. Because there are things that can vary that you don't write down. And then you're going to be like, man, I just brewed this 3 months ago. Why does it taste a little different? Note-taking, gravity readings, all that stuff is crucial to understanding how to make consistently good beer, in my opinion.
I agree.
All right. Hey, well, Mr. Burns, I appreciate your time. Believe it or not, that's wrap up, man. I've taken you for longer than I need to. I know you're a busy man. And really, I'm just trying to get rid of you because I want to pack for my beach trip. It's not for a couple of days, but I like getting in that mood, you know.
Hey, man, if you're going to pack, you might as well do it on the clock, I always say.
Well, it's either pack or nap. I mean, I don't know what you want from me. But I do appreciate your time, my friend, and I will see you soon.
All right, take care.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. Oh, no, the whole music's coming down. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, visit homebrewhappyhour.com and click on the submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, homebrewsupply.com, for supporting our podcast and the homebrewing community. Go to homebrewsupply.com right now, use our promo code HHH, and you'll get 5% off your order site-wide. On behalf of Ladit Joe Ermis, Todd Burns, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.